We're going to cover preventative and predictive maintenance, okay? Typically in a facilities organization. But also, remember, the whole reason for this class is how do you apply it in the construction field and project management field, okay? So we're going to cover PM procedures, typical tasks that you perform on a piece of equipment. And how do you identify those procedures, okay? Equipment history, what's so important about, one, recording equipment history and then assessing equipment history. Verifying equipment inventory. What do you have in your facility? How many air handlers? You know, and right down to how many breakers. 15 amp breakers, 20 amp breakers, and then the brand. Are they square D? Are they Bryant? Okay? And then from there, you can start to run trends. Certain pieces of equipment work better in certain types of environments. Okay? Equipment servicing, benefits of a predictive maintenance. That's the next chapter, applying some of those technologies. We'll cover some of the items like oil analysis and infrared. Ultrasonic. What do you use ultrasonic testing for in a facility, in a building? So some of the questions you'll want to ask yourself is, okay, I'm building this new facility, and one of the items that I need to identify is what type of predictive maintenance procedures you're going to have, okay? Someone asked me how my week went. Today I went and toured a little small TI. It's happening at a credit union building. You probably know that from our... It's a building to the south of us. It's been fenced off. I don't know if you noticed it's right off of Roosevelt. Yeah. So that's going to have our threat force facility coming over from Tempe. They're a countermeasures organization within my group, okay? And I walked into one of their secured, we call them SCIFs, so they're confidential conversations or classified conversation rooms. And what they are is they're radio sensitive. You can't really call out from these rooms how they're built, right? So I walk into this room, and there's this floor unit, air conditioning floor unit, like sitting right, almost in the middle of the room, but up to a wall, right? So I walk in, turn on the light, walk in, and there's this air conditioning, you know, like that box right there. And I'm looking at this air conditioning. Right? It's like, what's that doing in here, right? And then I'm looking at it, I says, no, that must just be in storage. I mean, it's not really hooked up. So I'm looking at it, and sure enough, it's got a disconnect on the wall. Wires run to it, right? And what it is, you turn it on, and it provides cool air. Now, where they built this SCIF used to be a credit union. So I'll give you one guess what used to be in this room. A vault. That's where they kept the money, right? So what is it, like 12-inch, 16 inches of concrete, right, with the rebar and everything. Perfect, right, for this room environment. So I'm looking at this air conditioning. You know, what's the first thing that come through your minds, project managers? Drainage, because you're going to have condensate, right? Okay, what else? Good.
How are they circulating air?
Okay.
Outside air.
Yeah, because if it's here and I'm trying to get air to that back corner, right, and you got chairs and everything in there, right? Good. Okay. What else?
Producing like a gas, like
well, that is going to provide heat. It's going to produce heat, right? So I got a double whammy. Not only am I trying to cool the actually temperature heat of the people and the lights, but also the unit itself, because it's generating heat. It's got moving parts in it, right?
Someone put a window unit in a room and expected it to cool down?
It's a floor unit. It's a data center air conditioning unit is what it is. Two different applications. Data center, which is cool. You really don't work in a data center unless you're servicing and upgrading servers for the most part. But this one here is a classified room. I will have conference rooms, tables with chairs, and probably hold about 25 people having conversations, right? What else? Noise. I'm looking at this unit and looking at the dB levels, and it says, wow. I said, that's going to be cold, for one. The other one is going to be noisy. How am I going to maintain this thing? Am I going to knock on the door every time I need to check the filter? And I got to be escorted into this room every time I knock on the door, right? And they're going to watch me. They're going to turn on all the lights. And there I am, a maintenance personnel maintaining this air conditioning unit. So, now, who's my construction? Who's my construction majors? I want to see them hands. All right. Okay, I'm going to pick on you guys. I went to the project manager and I asked him. I said, can I get a reason, logical reason why we put a floor unit in this particular room?
It was easy.
It was easy. Almost there. Okay. Now this is a vault. So for me to run any type of duct in here, I got a core drill, right? I got a core through, 12 inches, 14 inches of concrete. Okay. You've all know part of coring, right? You bring in, Pro Cut, or you bring in, who's some other big all cut, right? Okay, Southwest Coin, Apache, right? And they come in and they set up your jigs and they cut the holes where you want them, right? Then from that, I run my ductwork. I put my sensors into ductwork, right, for security reasons and noise and so on, right? Didn't want to pay for those. I'm trying to save costs. Okay, so that was one. Okay, what other explainable reason why they didn't want to?
They didn't have any access into that room other than the door.
Okay.
For security reasons.
Well, that could be a pro for the security side of things, right? Wanted to save costs. So they say probably between the coring and the ductwork, they might have saved maybe $15,000 to about maybe $16,000 by doing it this way. But then I go back to the customers. Is this going to be a convenience for them or an inconvenience? When they get all moved in and they bring customers like the Coast Guard and they're sitting in that room and they got to turn this unit on, right? And it's humming away and blowing air down at your feet. Not at you, but down at your feet because it blows down and out, right? How long do you think they're going to contend with this before they start complaining? A month? Give them a year. We've been putting this up for a year. I understand facilities are trying to save some bucks, but this is ridiculous. We can't hear ourselves. It doesn't cool the room. The people in the corner are too hot, right? I've got a mess when I have high humidity because I'm leaking all over the floor because I'm not emptying the condensate pan. I got to send facilities in there to do it, right? Okay.
So the building was never designed to have vent work to that room?
No, because there was a vault. So once you walked into the vault, all you had was lights. Turned the vault into a meeting room. So part of the design was perfect. Design had coring. Design had a fan coil unit above that vault. Everything was set. Easily accessible, maintenance up on top of the vault, never had to access the room.
How are they getting outside air in that room?
Well,
Not, right?
that's my other question. Because it's a sealed room.
Right, so I mean, it's going to be, I wouldn't want to be in there.
Well, they got to go back and think about that. So the project manager, when I had the conversation with them, right, it's like, oh, the condensate and the return air. Well, maybe there's enough leakage in this room. And it says, no. You're not going to get leakage in this type of room, or you better not be getting leakage, so they won't be certified. But again, these are some of the items. They look good from the beginning. Hey, look, I'm saving this kind of money. But then you've got to look at the consequences, right, downstream. So that's really equipment servicing is the point I'm trying to make. This piece of equipment is going to work fine, but it's a wrong application. If it was a data center, maybe a server room, no big deal, right, because nobody's ever in there. But this is going to be an occupied room, okay? And, of course, applying the technologies, and then we'll go into some of the predictive processes. Okay. So you know what this is, right? Building, going up. Construction. You know what's amazing? See these guys here? When they pour every, floor, right? They put your steel, well, I call them beams, right, posts. And they put the posts up, and that's what they support the floor above you, the pan. They pour that with concrete, right? And then you have the guys that come in to this floor, and they remove those posts, right? You know what really amazes me? Is I would be listening to noises, wouldn't you? Like creaking or cracking, because I've removed those posts, because that's a lot of weight, right, above you. And it's like, how come I'm getting that job? Give it, why don't you have Jack go do that? But really the building designed for that. And after the concrete cures, right, it's awfully safe. But again, we're looking at a building, right? It's just a shell, but with that, you're going to have ductwork, you're going to have fire protection, you're going to have electrical distribution systems, connectivity for all your IT services, and so on. So that building is going to be fitted up. So again, preventative maintenance, okay, initiate service and repairs before failure or breakdown, minimize unexpected downtime. So actually, the maintenance program starts when this building is in this state. So finding out accessibility to all the pieces of equipment. So say, for instance, I got 2 large air handlers that's going to go on the 2nd, 3rd floor, and maybe the 5th floor up in here. So again, part of the designs, and in all reality, though, as a construction or project manager, either one, you're going to go in and you're going to work off the prints. But some of the recommendations you can provide the owner is, I'm installing an air handler in the middle of your building. Has anybody given some thought on how you're going to replace it when it's into life? Has anybody given it some thought on how you're going to maintain it or accessibility to that? Or for fire requirements, okay? And again, these are just questions. Architect's not going to like you. The MEP person is probably going to say, you know what, I don't like that. I don't like that project manager. But you're asking questions, though, that are going to make sense before that building's even buttoned up. When's it easier to make a change? After the building's completely glazed in, filled in, and occupied? Or when it's in this state? Probably easier in this state, right? You know, we'll make an addendum. We'll slide the air handlers out to the exterior wall, right? We'll put the louvers on the exterior wall. That way, if we need to remove it in the future, we bring in a crane, remove that section of tilt slab, take the whole unit, slide it out, set it on the flatbed truck, put the U unit and slide it back in, right? Without disrupting the occupants in the middle of the building. Okay? So again, some typical questions such as that. Okay? So preventative maintenance choices, which one's the best out of these two? Planned maintenance, right? So part of that's predictive maintenance. Planned events, announcements, you know, these pieces of equipment go down by my hand with the disconnect. Okay? Unplanned, I can't prevent these from happening. These are going to happen. No matter what I try, what I attempt, what type of maintenance program, I'm always going to have unplanned maintenance. It's just the nature of the game. No matter how well you keep your car maintained, okay, you're going to experience a dead battery. Right? When do you replace your battery? After you get in and you hit the click, 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 right? Then you know there's something up. But how many folks actually, and I'm going to admit, I don't. How many go in and replace your battery religiously every 3 years? It's going to be tough. So when you're chancing on when it's going to go click, 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 right? So if you go to the movies and you're getting out at 12 midnight and you get in your car, it's always that chance, right? The possibility. Do good batteries go bad? Brand new batteries? I've had to replace some Sears diehards, you know, like a week after I installed them. One of the cells went bad. It happens, right? So part of that, you have a backup plan. So what would be the backup plan? Jumper cables would be one. The jump box in the trunk.
That'll get you home.
You know, I mean, a true maintenance person, they have no trunk space. They get extra batteries, jumper cables, fan coils, an extra motor, right? A lift back there in that trunk. So you open up the trunk, it says, I can't put no groceries in here. It says, hey, that's my stash, right? Because I'm ready. I'm ready to do any type of maintenance on my vehicle, right? Okay? I'm just exaggerating. At a minimum, you may have the jump unit, or you may have some jumper cables, right? And then you got to flag somebody down to give you that jump. But it's going to get you out of that fix. You get it home next morning, you take the battery out, go down to Sears or Kmart, wherever, right, and you're going to replace it. Okay, then you start the process all over again. What's some items, again, another example on your vehicle that you find out when you need them, and we just had a bunch of rain, and you turn on your wipers, and what happens?
They fall off.
Right? Or they come and they streak, right? Because they're so dry, for one. They're not flexible anymore. But in Arizona, who checks your wipers? Really? I mean, when you're washing the car, I mean, you have a maintenance program where you check the wipers to see how pliable it is? Now, maybe if we lived in Seattle or in Oregon, it's a necessity. It rains all the time, right? But here in the desert, it hardly ever rains. You know, just roll the window down, put your head out, right? And you drive down the road, maybe like that, right? Okay? Some other items in Arizona that we're more frequently checking are what? What do we usually check in Arizona in our vehicles? Belts and hoses and something else.
Oil.
Your oil, but you ride on them. Your tires, right? I mean, in Arizona, how many dry rot tires have you seen that got brand new thread? I mean, they're like brand new tires, right? You drive them off the parking lot, okay? Typically, in Arizona, you're probably going to replace your tires. I hate to say it. You buy a used car, the tires look in real good shape, but you know what? I don't know how long these tires have been there. So then you try to look at, the old Lincoln Heads penny thing, right? I mean, it's got a good thread. I mean, it's like, hey, these are brand new tires. Yeah, I'll give you that for that car. But the tire's been on the car for 6 years. So what happens when they heat up? Break down and they start what? disintegrating, right on the road. Okay. So again, so these are some of the precautions how you minimize the unplanned. I don't want an unplanned blowout because one, it could be dangerous, right? And then where it's going to happen. So those are some of the items that you look at. Equipment failure, deferred maintenance. Remember that? Some maintenance, that, again, that air handler that I'm talking about, I may not be able to get to it on time. So I want to keep track of those deferred maintenance line items so I have, a list. Okay? I know I've got to do the maintenance, but if I don't document it and note it, I'm going to forget about it. Okay? Now, preventative maintenance procedures, typically all things have the need for inspection and repairs. If it's in the building, everything in this room here is going to have some need for inspections and repairs. Okay, Proxima cards, lights, light bulbs, even the clock battery, and so on. Okay, it's just part of what owning and operating a facility. Okay, better utilization of assets. I can use that Proxima a lot more with the light bulb that works, right, than when it doesn't. So I'm utilizing the asset to its optimum. Consistency and reliability. Well, we had one little hiccup, John, with the screen, remember? But you knew how to jiggle the buttons there to get it to go down, okay? So again, this may need some preventative maintenance, right? I mean, we probably should call a ticket in to the facilities organization, right? It says, hey, facilities, the screen's hanging up. It says, oh, it's that John guy again from the PBSRG. What does he want? Well, he reported screen going bad. You know what? It's low in priority. We'll get to it next year, right? So what would happen if the screen didn't work, though? Could you guys see this on the wall? It'd be kind of tough, right? So again, so the quality of education, what happens, right? So then I'm going to get a bad review, right, at the end of class, and it's going to be all turned back around, right, just because of a screen, okay? Training has to be part of your maintenance program. Training on what are you going to do and how you're going to do it. When are you going to do it, okay? Data collection, we talked about the necessities to collect the information. Okay. Another item, you visit your doctor or your dentist, right? And you keep records on your cholesterol, your blood pressure, right? Because it's what? It's a maintenance report on yourself. You keep track on your weight, even though sometimes you don't want to, right? Yeah. Okay. But again, this is what this is data collection. And can you run trends on yourself? It's like, gosh, my blood pressure's lower when I'm 10 pounds lighter, typically. My cholesterol's better when I'm 20 pounds lighter, typically. So that's telling you a clue, right? So somehow I need to get right with the program. Because what happens to you when you neglect yourself as a person? Yeah, we don't want those breakdowns, right? Because they're catastrophic breakdowns, right? Okay. So again, it almost applies to ourselves. A good maintenance program, what you want to do is I want to live till whenever's, right? But I want to live as quality life as I can. Same thing on a piece of equipment or a facility. And then analysis of trends and failures, the type of failures that occur and when and how often, okay? So again, Arizona, one of the harshest environments we have is heat, primarily during the summer months. So equipment up on the rooftops, the roofs themselves, parking lots, glazing, the heat oxidation, right? And then you got your thermal swings night and day. Okay. What was it? It was 80 degrees. Was it last Wednesday or something like that? 80 degrees driving home. And a couple days before that, it was down in the high 20s. Could you imagine how much contraction and expansion was going on in your building? A lot, right? Okay, so again, I go back to some of those roof leaks that I had. That's what happened. Some of the crickets pulled away from the roof, and I can see where the gaps are. I can repair them, but again, based on weather conditions, right, between the two.